I thought you guys might appreciate a quickie, so here's the Shambler versus Monsieur Keyan, who is not a Gorgorcore, you understand, and it is a Zerg versus Zerg on none other than Terminus. You've seen this before? What'll happen this time? There's always something different. Now, I'm not sure if based on the name, not a Gorgorcore, whether Keyan is trying to bait the Shambler into going Gorgorcore again, but it's not going to happen this time, you can tell, because he's not harvesting any gas in the early game, and you do need 100 gas for Zorkas. So it's quite an expense. That being said, there's no gas being harvested from Keyan either. He's going for either a Fast Expo or a Quasrock opener. And considering he's, I was going to say he's like conserving workers super early. In fact, you can cut workers if you want a fast Quasrock, right? Like that's what I thought the Shambler was about to do there, but it looks like maybe he will delay it further. Scout coming out from Monsieur Keyan, and he is heading in the upper right-hand corner. Now, a Quasrock going down in his base will eventually be scouted. Ooh, denied! Keyan making sure he cannot build with that particular worker, so he'll build it with that anyway. And that's actually, it's not insignificant. For example, if Keyan were to go for a direct, geyser move at this point, and he would just start harvest a lot of gas, that might actually be pretty good. Now, he's actually going to burrow right here, which I'm kind of surprised the building doesn't reveal it, but I think it's just barely out of range. Obviously, like as soon as he walks over it, he is going to see the worker and force it to unburrow. For some reason, he's having a difficult time of it. There you go. He's figured it out. And so, of course, it will just spin some more. So the Quasrock pool is done here, and we have 3 eggs turning into 6 Zethicores. And the same response from the Shambler. Okay, this is like the first time I've seen a mirror build actually happen in that way. That's funny. I'm sure it's happened before. It's just not something that I was expecting. Shambler will catch sight of the Zethicores, and he will pay for that scouting information with his worker. And now the same will happen to Keyan. So the workers are gone in the dark. Keyan colony going down, I imagine, for both players, as a matter of fact. And indeed, I am correct, because neither of them wants to be the aggressor in this situation. They're both super scared. Maybe not as super scared as Keyan, throwing down 3 Keyan colonies to the only one of the Shambler. He's actually gone for Vorvicores, which, maybe these, if you get circuits with all of these, that might actually be an appropriate counter at that point, right? You have to think about it like you are dealing at that point with much more armor, right? Much more damage. So it looks like one of them will be a Spraith to counter any potential Nathrocores, although this is a really poor placement for that. And this one will be another circuit as well, but it will take a little bit of time. A single Zethrocore reveals what Keyan suspected, which was that Shambler is going to go in and try to do some damage. The Vorvicores, obviously, without their Zethrocore compatriot, are going to be hard-pressed to actually kill anything. But they will take some more damage. And so, yeah, you can see that was hopelessly useless. I don't know why the Shambler would do that, but he didn't expect that. So now he has more information for next time. Now, despite this, I think he would have scouted that there were 2 circuits, maybe only 1. He probably doesn't know about the Spraith. So as a result, just based on that alone, it is definitely an issue where you think about it like, whoa, my opponent might just try to kill me. So he's gone for a second circuit of his own. He's only got 6 Zethicores. Keyan's got maybe 8 or 9 at this point. So that's an improvement for him. Yeah, he's just gone up to 11 with that one. And he is now going to try to expand to the mineral heavy base. He's still not harvested any gas. He's got 16 gas. So he's got 4 returns of the geyser. Now, this set of Zethicores is going to spot this Hatteras going down. If he's not careful, he might actually lose it without the cancel. So it really depends on how fast he responds to this threat. They can just barely see this Hatteras now. Yep. So is it going to be canceled? It's not going to be canceled. That's horrible for Keyan. He will probably not do any damage, at least not to the same degree of losing 300 minerals. Like, that's pretty intense. He has lost a Keyan and a worker. Okay, maybe tell a lie. He's actually doing more damage. Assuming he gets a single additional worker kill, he does. Okay. Whew. That was rough. He could have gotten way more damage done with that, a little bit more micro. But you have to think about it. It's what, 225 for a circuit in totality? You're losing the worker. We're not factoring in mining time for this equation, but lose the worker, lose the Keyan, lose the circuit itself. The Quasrock pool going down would be really, really bad for Keyan. And it looks like he is going to actually lose that if he's not careful here. He's done some very poor micro. And now the Quasilisks are here. And yeah, he didn't even rally like all of them. He could have done that, held that way better, but of course he didn't. And this one was a Spraith for some reason, even though he scouted no gas. He's just worried about it, right? He wanted to go for a more sort of heavy like air army or anti. He wanted to go for a more heavy ground army, and he didn't want to have to build anti-air. But even still, the Spraith placement weird. Strange. This is something that has been discussed. I do believe that I will be setting it to 2 armor pen because 3 is a little bit heavy. But I'm not even sure. How much armor does the Quasark pool have? It does have 3, so that would have made a minor difference. But I think he still would have lost it based on his poor play. Like, he didn't have most of his units, and he obviously didn't have like good positioning of the Quasark to begin with. He put it as far away as default creep would allow, and that is something that I think kind of owned him in that sense. Maybe the one thing that could have changed is that he might have noticed and canceled the Hatcherosk sooner, and as a result of that, he might have been able to deal with that. But you know, now his units are taking a very sluggish amount of time to respond to this, and he will indeed lose both circuits as well as the Zethicores that are coming out here. Most of them were on move command, it looked like. He might even lose all of his Quasis here if he's not careful, but I think he should be fine. And, you know, the Shambler is expanding behind this, so that is A-okay. Not really focusing firing the damage dealers here, which is pretty rough. He loses like 3 more Quasis than he needed to in that engagement, and he didn't use his workers for any help either. He's slow to unburrow them. Like, there's a lot of stuff here where he definitely could be playing a little bit better, right? He's one by one trying to task these workers on. And so, yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there. I think his APM might be as low as mine. But nonetheless, he's responding to the tilt. He's reactivating, so to speak, and actually going for more military units here. He probably doesn't feel safe, but because he has no information, he doesn't know that the Shambler is macroing up behind this. Although at this point, there are more Zethicores going down, so... That's another thing, is that, like, when you realize that you can SimCity your way to a point where, like, there's less surface area around your static defense structures, that means that Zethicores have less of a thing to, like, gather around, right? There's a little bit of an economic advantage here for Keyan, but well, maybe that's not true. At this point, I think maybe he's got way too few workers on this side. So these Zethicores should just walk in and kill off the circuits before it finishes. It's not canceled, so he doesn't even get the, you know, money back. The armor pen wouldn't have even helped you there, because well, actually maybe when they're completed they have 3 armor. So yeah, that wouldn't have even changed the equation there. And yeah, I mean, that's more of a Kagrin thing. Like, Kagrins only have 150 HP, right? So it's actually pretty rough for them. Rough life out there. But nonetheless, we do have an attempted move out. There's a lot of Vorvicores here, but again, they're not being ignored, right? The attack moves are mostly catching them. There's attempted split. He's going to lose a Quasi. Doesn't have a static defense structure back at home. He hasn't rebuilt it. So he will end up having to concede this game, I'm pretty sure. I don't really see how he could possibly respond to this. He has a couple more units being morphed. He's actually forcing Shambler to chase him around the map a little bit. Most of these are, well, not most of these are Zethicores, but that won't happen for very long. Yeah, he's going to lose it again. I'm sure he's not very happy about that. And as a result, he will indeed have to concede, I think. I can't imagine him staying in this game for very long. He could just fight these with workers, but I'm not sure what his unit movement is. I don't know what's going on there. Even afterwards, like his worker movement. What is going on? He's got 500 minerals. He can rebuild the Quasark, which I think he will. So he's definitely behind now, right? Like, this game is almost certainly decided. But you know what? A lot of us like to hang on to the bitter end. I can't really complain about that, because I think the main thing you can think about here is these players are getting more data. They're understanding more about, like, you know, how to maybe fight out of disadvantageous solutions. And we can't yet count on the opponent to being skilled enough to actually close out games, even from very winning positions, right? He is actually going for a second Spraith. Interesting choice. I think maybe he fears that there's going to be a tech switch out of that. But, of course, we know that that's not the case. And 3 circuits are now operational. No combat units, no Quasis. On this patch, they obviously have 6 damage. It's pretty good. Pretty good attack speed as well. 1 armor pen. I think Vorvicores have 2 armor, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, they do. I guess the egg might have Terran armor? What the fuck was that? That was weird. And, yeah. The Quasis are coming out now. So we should be able to see something of that. But I think that if this Wraith were a circuit, I would believe in Keyan's ability to defend again. He's actually just going to walk right past the Wraith, and it's a little bit confusing, I think, for his Zethicores. This front circuit should fall, but I think there's too many Zethicores here at this point. He will just walk through the whole thing, and it will be a G for sure. But you know what? More data, more information, and I think at this point, not because of this game, I had already decided it would probably be 2 armor pen instead of 3, but that's mostly because of the fact that town centers were being nuked super early. I don't think that the case of the Quasrock pull in this game was particularly relevant. And yeah, well, actually, not leaving your base to scout and confirm more information. It's probably one of the reasons why the GG is called not in his favor. So there you go. As a result of that, the game will be called, and I'm sure eventually the Shambler will leave the game as well, and that will give us the opportunity to see the score screen. We see just how many resources the Shambler had. Obviously, we see the structures difference here as well, which is mostly raisings, I think. If you go to structures, you can see he killed 13, and Keyan only killed 1. That was the circuit from earlier. So yeah, there you go. On to game number 2. We got some Tismic workers coming out of Keyan in the same spawns, same matchup, same map. Here we go. The Shambler versus Keyan, ZVZ. It's just a 2-game cast, so that's why I said it was a quickie at the beginning. I forgot to mention exactly what I was talking about there, I guess. But you know what? The first one was silly. We'll see if the second one is also silly. I know that on Megalith Empire and other maps that have shorter rush distances, the Shambler was quoted as saying that Zethra-cores are too powerful or something, and that like he absolutely can't do anything other than go pool first. If you were to do that, I feel like that could be explored further, right? Yeah, but ZVZ is also a matchup that's not super well played. I mean, Protoss seem to be like the ones that always get away. Like they are super fucking hard to track down all the time, it feels like. But whatever, no problems there really. I just realized this is actually the older version of Terminus. This has been converted a long time ago, so I guess these people haven't updated the version of the map, or maybe I'm a Tismer and didn't update it myself. Once again, Keyan's Quasrock is much faster than the Shambler's. We'll see if that makes a difference this time around. He is spinning a worker, so at least there's like some sort of ritual going on. And yeah, it's going to be Quasrock first for both of them. No gas mined anywhere. This scout actually comes straight back home. Probably wants all of the mining efficiency that he can get. And I think the Shambler here at this point. He's starting to do what I do. I like shift-click my worker a bunch of places. It actually gives your opponent the impression that you're actually looking at their base. And I'm usually not. I'm just like shift-clicking a bunch of shit. So a very fast circuit here. And I think maybe Keyan will favor a more macro-oriented game. He might like maybe borrow his workers in a few places. I don't think he saw that the Shambler worker moved out a different spot. But at this point, the circuit will take care of the Droleth, just about. It's got 5 HP more. He's going to summon his Zethra-cores back. In general, I like to hotkey my scout to 1 and my first couple military units to 2 for the control groups. And that should definitely help these players like summon their units more at will if they're not doing that already. Quaslo Scout, so should be all set. A second one as well. And that will indeed be the end of the scout. Very safe opener for the Shambler as well, with a single circuit on the back being planned. And some more Zethra-cores coming out. There's going to be 8 Zethra-cores. Might be the point where he decides to poke his head in and see what he can do. And now a Kagrant in the back line, with some gas being harvested, presumably for a Larvosk. I doubt this will be the Larvosk, because it's a prime candidate for a defensive Circuit or a defensive Spraith. It will be a Spraith. He's really paranoid about air, but he doesn't scout, so he doesn't confirm that. And so he invests a lot of money into an anti-air defense, where he could just go for like nothing but quasis for the for like a mixed sort of defense, right? So maybe that's a point you can say about Keyan, that like he could definitely improve by doing that. He is just going to continue harvesting gas off of one worker and slowly trickle out some Zethra-cores. And I think that should be sufficient to, you know, maybe make Shambler himself a little bit more paranoid. He's actually getting 3 circuits, or 2 circuits. He's got this one as a Larvosk. So the first pair of Zethra-cores that's out is already making its way across the map. The second pair will be revealed, which maybe Keyan might not wanted to have done. He will borrow the worker, but it's not going to be good enough. It is revealed. He'll have to send another one out, which is unfortunate. He could have just like pathed it back. I actually thought that was the first pair of Zethra-cores over here, but I was wrong. That's just a random Zethra-core scouting. So this army is going to be cleaned up totally, and the Zethra-cores will definitely force a Spraith colony in the back line. I assume this one will also be Spraith. So, you know, just based on that alone, he's already done economic damage. He doesn't know it yet, of course. He has to confirm it. And he will be going for more Zethra-cores himself. I'm not sure. Oh, he actually did drop the Hatcherosk. I was confused. I was like, where did all of his minerals go? Or did he like fake attempt to expand as a mad mind game in case the Shambler scouted him in that moment or something? But no, he already put it down. So it's just a silly move from me. This is actually okay as a Spraith. Like if it was out here by default as a Circuit, I would say, look, Zethra-cores could just totally surround this thing. But as a Spraith, it's all right. I do worry a little bit about the fact that these two can't really help each other out. Although there is a +1 range, -3 damage change recently to the Spraith colony. And it deals full damage to Nathicors anyway. So with enough of them, it actually ends up being pretty good. But yeah, we'll see how that works out. Maybe I'll revert the damage thing and it'll just be a straight up +1 range buff. Some idle workers for Keyan. He's moving around his Zithicor, just making sure there's no expo that he can see anyway. He didn't scout this area here, so he might be a little bit doubtful that there's actually no expo. Like he scouted over here, he scouted over here. I think he scouted over here. He might not have. But I would be a little bit incredulous. Like, how does the Shambler have so few units, right? If he doesn't have a base somewhere, like where the hell is it? So you can see at this point, Keyan has queued up a bunch of movements here to see where the enemy is coming from. He has not saturated his natural. He's not building any air defenses anywhere. He does have his own Nathicor, so he can respond pretty quickly, and he is starting to build workers at that base. He's transferring a single one to minerals. Okay, one more. You know, better than nothing. We talk about this all the time, but like, even if you have less mineral nodes on this base, having workers here is better than like fully saturating the space, right? Splitting them between the two workers. However, the Nathicors are going to strike very quickly, and that will be at least 2, maybe more workers killed. Yeah, it's going to be 3, 4 actually. Now they can't reveal burrowed units, so it's actually great to burrow them against air. It wasn't intended as like a buff against air, but in that particular, I mean, in that respect, it's more like that's just what happens, right? You never could used to reveal them anyway. But despite that, there will be Nathicors chasing Nathicors. You heard about girls chase boys, chase girls, whatever that song is that plays every now and then every time I'm in a grocery store. Yeah, well, it's Nathicors chasing Nathicors in CMBW. Somebody get that one made. Now this flock is heading down. This is actually at least a single control group, which is pretty scary actually. He does have a couple back here. He's got 4 and a bunch of quasis, so he can make it punishing if Shambler goes for a lot of attacks here. And that one actually is just going to turn into a Hydrock then, which is not canceled, which is a lot of money down the drain, which is probably going to tilt Keyan. He has to be on guard for all of these Naths. Only has a single Spraith. Probably needs to defend it with all of his might, but he hasn't confirmed where they are, and now they're going to go for his expansion and probably just kill the Hatterosk, and Keyan will be further tilted. Yeah, there goes. He can say goodbye to that. Now again, there's only a base now being set up for the Shambler. This wouldn't be terrible, except, you know, Keyan, many of his workers are sitting here doing nothing. And as a result, even though the Shambler only has 15 workers, he's super all in. You know, 3 of Keyan's are mining, right? They're dead even on workers. And not dead even on larva. Shambler has more larva, so he can keep his money lower. And soon he will have a base. So all of that combined means Keyan is probably feeling a little bit frustrated. His his Hydrock wasn't canceled, so he can't even get like a Zeracors or Hydras or something to be maybe a little bit more lethal. And now the Shambler, knowing that he has the advantage, can just sort of sit back and relax if he wants to. He will send he's actually sending all of his Nathicors out. So this is a potential moment where Keyan can get something done. He has a bunch of quasis, and he can guard the Spraith, and I don't know he can deal with this many Naths, but it can be pretty significant anyway. And meanwhile, he doesn't really have that many anti-air defenses himself. So Keyan could actually just kill him. But I don't know if Keyan realizes that, and I'm not sure that he will realize that in time. Those quasis do seem to be on hold pause. He will just walk through here and deny this base, so this is good trading. And as a result, yeah, I'm not sure what is going to happen here. Instead, they're just going to go straight in, but they were a little bit asynchronous. This first batch of Nathicors is pretty much dead already, but there's not really any reinforcements here. And only a Kagrin in the base. This could be turned back into a Spraith, but I don't think it will. There's not even really microing happening, and I think there's enough here to hold out for the Shambler, especially if he's not careful. He's going for economic damage instead of just going in for a kill, which is really bad considering he's now under assault over here. But I think maybe the quasis, because most of them were busy trying to kill a Circuith, they aren't actually going to be able to kill Keyan here either. In fact, most of the workers are still staying alive, although that will probably change, especially when, you know, now he's still not using these quasis to defend himself. I'm not sure what even is he worried about. He's being chased. Oh my god, he's lost all of his workers. Good grief. Oh, Jesus. Oh, man, if only he just attacked. No, it's got 8 HP. Your quasi can kill it. Okay, thank goodness. Well, still going to be a Shambler dub. I can tell you that much right now. Not enough workers, not enough money. He's basically got nothing. He should cancel this hatch house to get money back so he can build more workers, I guess. That's my advice to him. Jesus. I mean, Shambler may be on 1 base, but he's got 11 workers. Keyan's got 4 and 2 military units. So this could definitely be an instant just demolishing. The Shambler doesn't know that, but he is getting more workers instead of military units. So it might be a little bit before we see the natural conclusion of this game. But, yeah. I mean, maybe even if he canceled that hatch house, it still wouldn't help him that much. He doesn't have that much larva to actually build anything. And maybe if the Shambler just doesn't do anything for a little bit, and he, like, tries to play it more safe, and he goes for, like, you know, another expansion somewhere, that might allow Keyan back into the game. He would have to throw so hard, though. I mean, the only thing Keyan has going for him is he's got 175 gas in the bank, which obviously is more than the Shambler has. So he could theoretically build more Naths, or he could theoretically go for like a Hydrock. I think that's going to be too late. Like, this base isn't even contributing to him because his economy can't keep up with the workers that he's got. So I don't think that's going to really work out for him. Another control group almost of Naths is now on the way with the rest of it being cleaned up there. He's getting Naths of his own, but he doesn't have any more sprays. He's got 1 in the natural, which the Shambler's going to scout and see that is like totally undefended. And so this Spraith is just... I'd be surprised if it gets a single kill. It will. Holy shit. It did it. And yeah, I think that's just going to be... That might be the GG call before anything else happens. He might not even want to lose all of his units. But you know what? He's going to try to defend himself. He's just not convinced 100% that the Shambler is going to win yet. But the writing is on the wall for us. And also for this gigantic number of natural core. And it just evaporates. It's a GG, boys. That will be not a Gurkha core, not saying GG, and also not winning. So unfortunate for him, but that's okay. During this whole time, apparently BTYB, Ben Taberski himself, was chilling and witnessing. I didn't even notice that. Hope you guys enjoyed this cast over, and we will be back with probably some longer games, maybe some games with slightly less one-base silly antics or whatever. We'll see as time goes on. But yeah, that's it. Bye!